Good morning, or afternoon, or evening. Today we're going to solve equations, specifically multi-step equations. They're not much harder than the two-step equations that we learned in the previous lesson. The only thing is with the multi-step equations, sometimes they try to make it a little bit confusing. And what I mean by that is they might give you something like 9 divided by t equals 3. This, even though this is really just a two-step equation, but it's confusing because a lot of students think they need to take 9 and divide by 3, which actually is correct, but they're not sure why that is. Sometimes they accidentally do 9 times 3 and get 27. The problem with this equation that makes it difficult is the variables in the bottom. That's why it's a two-step equation, actually, because we need to remove the variable from the bottom. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by t first, and then we get the t's to cancel on the left, and we're left with a 9 equals a 3 times t, because we want to get the variable in the numerator, or out of this denominator. Now we divide both sides by 3, and we do actually get t equals 3. Now I want to emphasize it doesn't matter what side the variable's on when you're finished. It can be on the right side as well as the left side, but just be careful when the variable's in the bottom. Another equation that they're going to give you is with parentheses, which we've learned the distributive property, but sometimes it's easier to do it without doing the distributive property. And what I mean by that, I'm going to show this equation in two ways. So they're going to give you a 3 times a y minus 4 equals 9. You can make this technically a four-step equation, or you can make it a two-step equation. If you do it the long way, the four-step, you're going to distribute in that 3. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times negative 4 is going to be a negative 12 equals 9. So that was our first step. The next step is to add 12 to both sides. So we get 3y equals a 21. And then the last step is to divide both sides by 3, and we get y equals 7. So the reason I consider that 4 steps is I had to multiply 3 times y, there's 1 step, 3 times 4, that's 2 steps. Then I had to add 12 to both sides, that's the 3rd step, and then I had to divide by 3, that's technically 4th operations you're doing. An easier way to do that is to realize that if I have this, so I'm doing the exact same problem, rather than distribute in, let's divide by 3 first. Let's get rid of the multiplication of that 3 times this parentheses. If I do that, then the 3's cancel. I don't have to distribute. I'm left with the y minus 4 equals, and by the way, what's 9 divided by 3? It's 3. And then I have one step. I just add 4 to both sides. If I add 4 to both sides, I get y equals 7, which is exactly what I got up here, y equals 7. But I only did 2 steps, divided by 3 to get 9 divided by 3 is 3, and then I added 4 to get 7, rather than 3 or 4 steps up here. So let's do another one of those that you might see, because in Excel, they obviously are going to play with signs as well. I saw this when I was looking through the Excel, 3 parentheses. They use an S, and then they did a plus negative 7. They put a little negative 7 up by the 7, and they added it, equals negative 15. Again, if you want, you can choose to distribute. I'm not going to choose to do that. I'm going to choose to divide both sides by 3. So if I do that, then the 3's cancel, leaving the S plus the negative 7 equals a negative 5, because negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. And now we got to be careful here. Students struggle with this plus minus. If it's easier, I'm going to just make it S minus 7 equals negative 5. Then I just realized that I have to add 7 to both sides. Add 7 to both sides. That gives me an S equals a 2, right? The mistake students make is they go, let's subtract a negative 7, subtract a negative 7, and then they mess up. They subtract 7 and not minus a minus or become plus 7. Be very, very careful with your signs on these multi-step equations. Another type of equation you'll see that's definitely more than 2 steps is when they have distributing with an additional term on the outside. What I mean by that is they'll have b minus 8, and then they'll have like a plus 5 here. So again, you could do this expression, this equation, in one of 2 ways. We could take the time to distribute, go 1 equals 2b, that's 2 times b, minus 2 times 8 is 16, plus the 5. Then I'm going to add like terms. I'm going to add these 2 terms together. So I'm going to have 1 equals 2b minus 11, because negative 16 plus 5 is minus 11, or negative 11. Now I'm going to add 11 to both sides. That's going to be 22 equals 2b. And then last, I'm going to divide by 2. And I get a b value of 11. Okay, now that was one way to do it. I'm going to do it again right next to it. So I'm going to have 1 equals 2 parentheses b minus 8 plus 5. Okay, what I could have done is I could have just started out with minus and 5 from both sides. Minus and 5, because I get rid of this term that I'm adding to this product. Remember, get rid of all your terms that you're adding or subtracting. That's going to give me a negative 4 equals 2 parentheses b minus 8, because I add or minus 5 from both sides. Now I'm going to divide 2 by both sides to get rid of this product of 2 in the parentheses. That's going to give me a negative 2 equals a b minus 8. Then I'm going to add 8 to both sides, and I get b equals 6, which is a completely different answer than I got over here. So guess what? I've made a mistake in either here or here. Let's see if we can find my mistake. Okay, I distributed in the 2. That's 2b, 2 times negative 16 plus 5. Okay, negative 16 plus 5 is negative 11. Negative 11 plus 1 is not 22. I made a mistake right here. I hope all of you caught that when you were watching it. Negative 11 plus 1 isn't 22, it's 12. Wow. And what's 12 divided by 2? 12 divided by 2 is 6, which is what I got over here. So again, be very, very careful with your addition. See, now let's think how many steps this took. If I distributed in, that's 1 step, distributed in. Added like terms, that's 2 steps. Minus or added 11 over, that's 3 steps. Divided by 2, that's 4 steps. It took me 4 steps, and I ended up accidentally getting the wrong answer. Here, I minus 5 from both sides. That was 1 step. Divided by 2 on both sides. That was 2 steps. And then added 8 to both sides. That was 3 steps. And I got the right answer. So I did 1 less step by doing it this method than I did by doing it this method. And I got the right answer too. Now again, like the previous lessons, I would actually recommend going back in and plugging in your solution. If I had taken this 11 that I'd gotten originally over here and plugged it back in, 11 minus 8 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 plus 5 is not 1. I would have realized that my 11 had been incorrect. But as soon as I got a 6, when I plug a 6, 6 minus 8 is negative 2. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, and negative 4 plus 5 is 1. It worked. So definitely check your answer before you hit submit on iExcel, and you will not drop down, and you'll catch many of your mistakes. Again, if you have questions, I will hopefully answer those for you in class.